Hello, I'm Kont Orlanderson,
And I'm Booger Dagwood.
and
And this
this
is
Kont
Cunt
and
and
Booger
Booger
at the movies.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is Cunt and Booger,
Kont.
and this is Cunt Orlander Anderson,
Hmm.
and today we're talking about the seminal classic 1987 film Over the Top,
Yes,
directed by Megatron
yeah,
Golan,
go on.
and starring Sylvester Stallone,
Yes,
some uppity little kid, and
horrible child.
horrible Tom.
Horrible
I
child.
forget the other people in it. There's some old guy.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
some
the old
woman.
man, yes. And a woman.
Yeah, and a woman.
I believe she dies.
She dies in a
Spoiler alert.
spoiler. Yeah. So the movie is basically about this really rich, preppy little kid
Yeah.
whose mom is dying of cancer and whose dad is Sylvester Stallone, but he's out of the picture. And on her deathbed, basically, she wants him to like interact with his father and do something.
Yes.
And his grandfather, this really rich, old,
Extremely wealthy.
old white money guy. He doesn't want the kid to have anything to do with Stallone because Stallone's basically a truck driver who also masquerades as an arm wrestler for some reason.
Moonlights, I believe
yeah.
is the term. Yes.
What did I say? Arm wrestles?
Masquerade. I
Masquerade.
mean, moonlights is a...
So he has this like workout bench in it where
Yeah,
everything is,
the weight.
and it's really weird.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about arm wrestling, they only really train like one arm. So basically, Stallone and this kid go on a cross country adventure, and like in a movie, coming of age movie, the kid comes of age and stands up to himself and gets in a fight or something.
Yeah.
This one he does it, but he arm wrestles some kid in some like local Chuck E. Cheese or something.
Well,
It's a really weird scene.
In the scene where they're playing the video game.
Yeah, it's dumb. And then they finally get to this event, like the World Championship Arm Wrestling.
Yeah, it's in Las Vegas, I believe.
And the winning prize is like some money in this big ass like truck, semi truck.
Yes.
And that's where most of the story takes place. And there's some big dudes there. I think there's a wrestler. Hey, fuck.
Yes, a famous professional wrestler, I
Yeah,
believe.
that's really the only good part. Well, the other good part, the kid is annoying, but he's like so mean to his dad. If I was Stallone, I would have whooped that ass.
Yes, the character works well because he's so annoying.
He's such a little cunt.
Yes.
Everyone, we should call you a little cunt when you're a little cunt.
No, that's not really my name.
What do you mean?
What I find so fascinating about this film is that it is in many ways about itself. Sylvester Stallone was paid $12 million. The film cost $25 million to make. Nearly half the budget went to his salary.
If anything, they underpaid him.
There are a number of excesses and ridiculous stories associated with the making of this film. And the film itself is as though you took every absurd element, thank you, of trashy grindhouse cinema and pushed it to his logical extreme. We have a combative sports tournament, but instead of sumo wrestling, or martial arts, or boxing, is arm wrestling.
That makes sense. Not a good
No.
fit. And it's
And we
weird
have-
because, yeah, you say that, but it's all like a grindhouse and all this stuff, but it's a PG movie.
Yes, it's a sad attempt to take the elements of grindhouse cinema and cash in on them. The film represents as a whole the absurd excesses of capitalism, the commodification of culture, and the meaninglessness of the product produced. There's a fascinating study in that regard.
And it's like, I'm trying to remember the film, and not a whole lot happens in it. The only good part about it is Stallone. So when I said they underpaid him, I know he was half the budget, but really, you could have had Stallone standing in front of a wall for 2 hours and just paid him $25 million. It would have been about the same.
Doesn't he win a truck?
He wins a truck.
He wins a truck. That's absurd.
And So I think,
Physical manifestation
I think the
of the
story
sphere of impotence.
is that he read the script and was like, this is trash. And if Stallone's reading the script and saying it's trash, it probably is trash
Yeah.
because he's been in some, not
An
so good movies.
Oscar-winning screenwriter, isn't he?
But yeah, so he probably knows what is good, reads it, knows it's bad.
Yes.
But they just dumped so much money on him that he couldn't say no.
Yes, he turned them down several times. But the director, who was one of the men who ran Canon Films at the time, was obsessed with getting Stallone.
I mean, he went for it and he was persistent. He got it, but you figure that money could have been spent.
It is the quintessential American story of spending to have something you believe you must have, but you do not need.
It's just like Bull.
That ultimately ruins you.
It's all about money, and it's just like Bull. So Bull had this brain-haired idea that he's gonna open up a restaurant.
Yes.
You've hung out with Bull a couple times. He's a pretty good cook. He knows how to make some stuff,
Yes.
but I wouldn't say restaurant worthy.
No, certainly not. Makes good sandwiches.
Yeah. So he's like, oh, I'll open up a restaurant, and he had a gimmick because he couldn't just open up a regular restaurant. There's too many of those. He had a gimmick. When you go to those restaurants and you're picking out seafood and they have the tank with the lobsters,
Yeah.
and you go that one, and they cook it, whatever. So the gimmick was like those restaurants, instead of picking out lobsters, you would go and pick out the free-ranging cows. They would butcher the cow. You get the freshest steak possible. And Bull's idea was like,
take forever.
yeah, and the idea is everyone leaves happy. You get really fresh meat. But turns out most people don't want to see cows being butchered before they eat.
Yes.
There was at least 4 lawsuits from families who
Now,
say their kids were traumatized.
The killing floor be in the restaurant.
They just killed them right in the field. Like, you point to the bull or cow, and they go out there with the stun gun, stun the cow, and kill her right there and there.
And
Chop it up, throw the steak on the grill,
in
and
the
you eat
field,
it.
they drop it up.
They just cut it and leave it. They don't waste it because it's not like, one family kills one cow and then that cow's gone. The cow feeds the rest of the people, but you pick your cow and you kill it right then and there.
It's a very disturbing concept.
Very disturbing. Bull's a disturbing man, and I told him this is probably not gonna work.
Yeah.
The lawsuits happen, and also you have to pay the people to kill the bull. You have to cook it. You have to care. Like, it's so much money that he was just hemorrhaging money.
Yes.
I think the restaurant was open for maybe a month before he had to shut it down.
Where did he get the cows from?
Well, on his farm.
Oh, yeah.
He has he mates
His
bulls.
farm, yes.
That's hence his name. He mates bulls, and he had mating cows.
No,
but
he mates with the bulls, or he uses the bulls to mate?
he was accused of the first one, but first one's not true. No, he doesn't mate with the bulls, as far as I know. So yeah, he had all these cows, and he's like, they're gonna go to the slaughterhouse anyway. I'll let them free range, like free range chickens, and at least they get to live, the rest of their life, decently instead of like in a truck. And he thought he was being good, and he wasn't. It was a dumb idea.
Yes.
So that
Much like
story,
Over the Top.
yeah, is exactly like Over the Top.
Yes, it is indeed. Yes, so would you recommend Over the Top?
I would recommend it to see it once, just to see for that fucking annoying kid and to see
I
the
believe
ridiculousness of
the
it.
film is certainly a fascinating case study for those interested in cinema as the preservation of culture.
But I don't think I'd see it more than once. I think once.
Certainly not a film to own
No.
on Laserdisc or VHS.
No.